last couple of seasons has put his pitcher in the 8th spot. And here's the first pitch of the night from Josh Johnson that misses outside. Adrian Johnson is the home plate umpire.
Just the second time that Josh Johnson has faced the St. Louis Cardinals. He faced them last year in St. Louis, lost the game, but pitching at home is where he loves to pitch. 3-1, a 1.76 ERA this year at home.
Fastball in. Schumacher dumps it out into center. Cody Ross is patrolling center field tonight, and quite well lately, I might add.
All right, we will see the rest of the defense. Cody Ross in center. You saw him, Coughlin and Hermida. Bonifacio, Ramirez, Uggla, and Cantu around the infield with John Baker handling Josh Johnson.
Chris Duncan, big, powerful outfielder, and the son of Cardinal pitching coach Dave Duncan, takes a fastball away. Chris Duncan spent most of last year injured with a herniated disc in his neck, and he pulls it on the ground to Uggla. So Josh Johnson with a quick start, and there's 2 outs.
You know, there are certain numbers, Rich, that just jump out at you with JJ, and I mentioned his home numbers, but when you look at the opposing batting averages, lefties are hitting .222 against him, righties .224. So he is equally as tough against lefties and righties.
Been able to get deep in ball games as well as Pujols climbs in. Last 3 starts have stretched at least 7 innings. Last 2 starts have been wins. Beat the Brewers and won in New York against the Mets. King Albert 0 for his last 11, and a guy that certainly has been pitched carefully to and around, not only this year but in his career. Cardinals don't quite have a lineup around him. This was the time that you were talking about with Johnson facing the Cardinals and Pujols. And he hits a breaking ball hard, but Hanley's out in left field. And he throws Pujols out. Josh Johnson, nicely done. A quick first inning.
Florida Marlins Baseball está disponible en español vía SAP y es presentado por KFC.
Some Cardinal fans here. Of course, the Marlins share spring training home with Chris Carpenter and the Cards. And the Carpenter has been brilliant. The best 6-start ERA in St. Louis Cardinal history, and it's a long history with some great pitchers. But Carpenter with an 0.71 ERA. He has been brilliant. Coughlin, Bonifacio, and Hanley in the first.
And those starts have been interrupted by a stint on the disabled list. He injured that oblique muscle swinging the bat. So it really wasn't an elbow or shoulder related injury.
It's a good, strong strike call from Adrian Johnson. That's almost Jim Joyce-like. Coughlin whips that one foul. Chris's average is up to 225. Had a good series against the Giants. Had a big home run against Tim Lincecum. 1 for 4 night last night.
And last night, think about it, he hit some balls hard. Even against Randy Johnson, he hit some balls hard. Line drives, deep fly ball. So he's seeing the ball a lot better and having good swings.
Coughlin, and we'll talk draft throughout the night, was a supplemental first-round pick out of Ole Miss. And he's 3-2 on Chris Carpenter. Throws a sinker. Pujols is a great first baseman, and his flip is just in time to get Coughlin. Here's the Marlins lineup for you. You saw Coughlin. Right behind him is Bonifacio. Then Hanley hits third. Cantu's in the cleanup spot. Hermida slides up to fifth with Ugla, Baker, Ross going righty, lefty, righty. And then Josh Johnson will hit ninth.
We've talked about this matchup. It's a tough matchup for the Marlins against the Cardinals. You go back to August of '05, the Marlins are just 6-16 against the St. Louis Cardinals.
Yeah, what was the note? The Cardinals have won 7 consecutive series against the Fish. Bonifacio, his average at 242. The thing about Carpenter that is impressive, he can dominate you with strikeouts, or he can dominate you with stuff that gets ground balls. There are nights where he's not striking guys out, but he's feeding his infield ground balls, and then there are nights where he's punching guys out. That ball was literally at the shoe tops of Bonifacio, who rolls it out to second.
Well, he has a number of weapons on the mound, not to mention control. 31 strikeouts, 5 walks. There's the defense with Duncan, Rasmussen, and Ankiel in the outfield. Tyler Green at third. Albert Pujols, a Gold Glover at first. Brendan Ryan and Skip Schumacher up the middle. And the catcher, another Gold Glove winner, Yadier Molina. And the skipper, the winningest active manager in baseball, Tony La Russa.
Tony La Russa. La Russa and his Cardinals finished 4th in the Central last year. Come into this one, 31-27. Hey, it's Email Tuesday. Almost forgot. So send us your emails. Ask.themarlins@fox.com. Ask.themarlins@fox.com. First email of the night is from Carlo in Palm Beach Gardens. I saw Tommy Hutton today at his baseball camp. My name is Carlo. We had a great day. I'm coming again tomorrow. He's got company tomorrow, right? That's
yes.
Deep right field. Back goes Ankiel, and he makes a basket catch.
His teammates will have a little fun with him when he gets into the dugout.
Ankiel makes the catch. Carpenter works a brief first inning.
Yeah!
Zeros up on the board. Chris Carpenter and Josh Johnson. Really no surprise with these two aces going here tonight. There's your email address, ask.themarlins@fox.com. And Johnson gets the cleanup hitter. This is Colby Rasmus. Speaking of drafts, Rasmus is one of the top prospects for the Cardinals. First round pick in 2005, 28th overall. And he smacks one off of Johnson, and it's going to roll into foul territory. It'll be a base hit. So Rasmus is aboard.
Well, he's done a terrific job for the Cardinals this year. It's an 8-game hitting streak now for Colby Rasmus. Off the leg and into foul territory, a base hit. He's leading all National League rookies in home runs and RBIs.
Yeah, he's been a pleasant surprise for the Cardinals, who are playing without one of their big bats. Troy Gloss is still injured. Rick Ankiel is back, though. Ankiel, who had that scary collision with a outfield wall earlier this season, is back in right field. You saw that basket catch to finish off the Marlins in the first. Ankiel, a local kid, Port St. Lucie. Heck, he's not a kid anymore. He's going to turn 30 in July, and he rips that ball into right field. Hermida plays it on a couple of hops. Strong turn by Rasmus, and the throw is cut by Hanley. First and second against Josh Johnson, with Yadier Molina coming up. Let's we take a look at the swing by Ankiel.
Yeah, middle of the plate. Josh just didn't get that pitch where he wanted.
Let's finish that email from Carlo, who's 7 years old and headed to camp tomorrow. Who will he see at camp tomorrow?
Well, I tell you what, we have a great day up there tomorrow at Roger Dean Stadium. Tony La Russa has accepted our invitation, is going to be the guest tomorrow at the Tommy Hutton Baseball Academy. So we look forward to seeing Tony and listening to him tomorrow.
Just promise me you'll have one of the kids, because I know whenever you have a guest, kids get to ask questions.
Yes.
Of the guest, be it a Hanley Ramirez or a Tony La Russa. Yadier Molina takes inside. Have one of the kids ask him, Tony, can you explain the nuances of the double switch?
Or why is your pitcher always hitting eighth?
He is, you know what? He's one of the more resourceful, creative managers in this day and age. And La Russa in his 14th year out of Tampa. He and Lou Piniella and Carlos Tosca, for that matter, all coming out of Tampa.
You think about his career. We mentioned the winningest active manager. He's third on the all-time list.
Yeah, certain Hall of Famer. 12 postseasons, 2 World Series titles with 2 different teams. 1-1 the count to Yadier Molina. Swing and a miss. Who, like Benji, who was just here for 4 days, is hard to strike out and hard to walk. A free swinger that always makes contact.
Yeah, you hope that when you have a guy like that, you can make a good pitch in this situation, hopefully get that ground ball, maybe a double play. He's a little faster than Benji, though.
He's a little younger than Benji. He's the youngest of the catching Molina brothers. Benji, of course, with the Giants. Jose injured with the Yankees. His father, Jose Sr.
Well, a good ratio, 15 strikeouts, 20 walks.
Josh Johnson with the count 2-2. The Cardinals have opened the second with base hits. Rasmus off of Johnson, literally. And then Ankiel drilled one to right. Almost got Molina.
Well, he's really trying to run that fastball in, and he's missed with it the last 2 pitches, but a couple of good pitches. Just took off a little bit, good movement, and almost out of the mitt of John Baker.
So the count's full. So if he doesn't walk much or strike out much, this should be in play. Runners on the move, a drive to left field. Coughlin is there, makes the catch, the throw to second. Rasmus, and it overshoots the runway a little bit there. I think Coughlin, just trying to get the ball back in, fired it. Wasn't sure whether to go to second or first, so it ended up between the bases.
Yeah, he was going to second. I'll explain the little nuance that happens when you're playing a new position, which he is. you get this ball, you have to stay under control. If you make a good, strong throw, it's going to get there. He tried to put a little bit too much on it and sailed it over the head of Dan Uggla.
That's the lesson that we had a few days ago with Brett Carroll. Don't throw it 100%, throw it about 80%.
And hopefully he'll file that away, and lesson learned.
This has got to be special for this guy. Tyler Green is 25. St. Thomas Aquinas, lives in Plantation. Grew up here in South Florida. An All-American at Georgia Tech. Getting the start at third base tonight.
And Rich, here's a situation with that pitcher batting 8th. If JJ can get Green, all of a sudden Carpenter's the next hitter.
Green is a big kid. He's 25. Was having a very good year in AAA. Just his 3rd start in the big leagues at third base. Johnson's 1-1. Keeps pounding it inside, and it's 2-1.
There is Carpenter on deck. Yeah, Joe Thurston's been playing a lot of third base. He's not with the club right at this moment, home for personal reasons. And Khalil Green's on the disabled list.
Yeah, Cards don't quite have the team they thought they would have.
Boy, look at that. Jumping 96. That ball took off.
Troy Gloss injured. Adam Kennedy, they essentially released and are still paying $4 million, and he's actually playing pretty well for Oakland. And then, of course, you mentioned Khalil Green. 2-2 coming. It's fouled back and out of play. Miccosukee brings you our weather. Come play our way. 74 degrees, muggy but dry, which is good news. Didn't miss by much.
You know, all of a sudden, after that 8-pitch first inning, with a couple of base hits and some foul balls, the Cardinals have made Josh Johnson work here in the second.
Broken bat, little looper. It's going to fall. Cantu, that's an out. The runner is out. In fact, the runner at third is going back to second.
Yes.
It's a heads-up play by Cantu.
Yeah, it's a play that the runner at first base, Rick Ankiel, there's no intent. He wasn't intentionally trying to do that. He just couldn't get out of the way, but you can't interfere with a fielder trying to field a ball. Cantu trying to field it, and Ankiel interfered.
You know what? Tony La Russa may have a beef here. Once the fielder has touched the ball and doesn't field it cleanly, isn't he live? Watch Cantu. He touches it and then drops it.
But before he touched it, Ankiel's right there and in a way interfering with it. And it's a quick discussion. So the argument or whatever point La Russa tried to make was squelched by Charlie Relaford, the second base umpire.
Pretty quickly.
Was put to rest.
But the result is that Rasmus ends up back at the second base. Green is now at first, and Ankiel is erased.
So it'll probably be a fielder's choice, 3 unassisted. Because Cantu the closest to the ball.
Carpenter to left, and JJ is going to get out of this inning just like that. Scoreless, Marlins, Cardinals. Scoreless Ball Game is your group looking for a special event. Save money, provide them with a unique and truly unforgettable experience at a Marlins game. Call the group sales department today. Ask about 2009 special group dates in hospitality areas. 305-626-SAVE. Rich Waltz along with Tommy Hutton and Craig Minervini and Jeff Conine and Chris Carpenter on an email Tuesday night.
The 34-year-old Chris Carpenter, who won the Cy Young Award back in 2005 with a 21-5 season.
Cantu takes a strike. Jorge Cantu. He'll be followed by Jeremy Hermida and Dan Uggla. 42 RBIs. Cantu still leads the fish, and he gulps that one down the left field line. Duncan to the wall, makes the catch. So there's one out. Back to the emails. When a pitcher puts his glove to his mouth after innings, is that to release some steam or is it just a habit? Because after J.J. Short first he did it, and I don't see why he would have anything bad to say like you usually see pitchers do when they have a bad inning. No name on that email.
I think sometimes a habit that a pitcher gets into. Better the glove than the hand.
Yes. I think originally it was Greg Maddux not wanting to give strategy away, and many pitchers realize that if they get a little angry and say something that they don't necessarily want people to hear or see, that
know that the cameras are always watching.
In fact, there are a few times during our telecast when Tommy will pull his glove out of his bag, put it over his mouth,
push the mute button.
Yes.
When you watch Carpenter, you'll see fastballs that go in different directions, and you'll see curveballs like that.
And that goes right back at him.
Yeah, he has a real good cutter. He'll run that one away from righties into lefties, and then he'll tail a fastball away.
He doesn't hang too many like he did right there to Jeremy Hermida. This week on Fox Saturday Baseball, interleague play is back, and this is a cool interleague matchup. Mets and Yankees. Fox Saturday Baseball returns this week, 4 o'clock Eastern on Fox. All right, here's Uggla. The Marlins have their first hit against Carpenter. The Cardinals got a couple of hits off of Josh Johnson. And Uggla strokes that one into right field. Ankiel a few steps over, and he'll make the catch.
And we filled you in a little bit on Chris Carpenter, the 6'6" righty. Another Cy. Yeah, I mentioned 05 Cy Young. Curveball with good bite, excellent cutter. The cutter has really been his pitch as of late. And a guy who has missed a lot of time because of injury.
9 times he's been on the disabled list. Elbow, shoulder woes. Baker stands in. Big takes a breaking ball for a strike. Email from Lori in Weston. Excited to make the trip to Boston. And we'll be bringing a sign. So we will look for you.
I don't think at Fenway Park it'll be too tough to find if it's a Marlins sign.
And they will drop an email from their seats as well. We got an email Tuesday in Boston. Wants to know any recommendations for dinner near the ballpark, near Fenway Park. Or in the ballpark. I think outside the ballpark you're better off in Boston.
Yeah, there are so many places. I couldn't name specifics, but within a walking radius outside Fenway, you'll have tons of choices.
Great seafood city. Great Little Italy section.
You can go over to Little Italy. You might have to take a cab to get there, but not far.
Jim Holly, our household name director, will be at Quiznos. 1 and 2. And down goes Baker. Carpenter gets his first punch out. And the Marlins and the Cardinals. When you've got aces, you get zeros. That's what we got so far. Score this ball game in the third. Let's go down below to Craig Minervini.
Well, thank you, Rich. There's an exciting youngster out there who's going to be a future Florida Marlin, we hope. It is the first-year player draft. The Marlins just moments ago, as we went to break, made their selection, 18th pick overall, and he is Chad James. He's a prep left-handed pitcher out of Oklahoma. He's the first-round pick for the Marlins, 18th overall in the 2009 draft. Steven Strasburg went first to the Washington Nationals, the San Diego State pitcher who's expected to ask for, did I read, guys, between 20 and 50 million?
Yeah,
that's the word on Strasburg.
Those are the figures that are being tossed around. Whether he gets to that level, we'll have to see.
A nice level. But Chad James is the latest trivia answer. He's the 09 first-round pick for the Marlins.
Yeah, I started at that level in my negotiations. It just went downward from that point on.
Was that with us or was it in your baseball teams?
Now, you signed before the draft, right?
I did, yeah.
Fastball is a strike to
I did.
Brendan Ryan.
First year of the draft was 1965.
Rick Monday was the first pick.
And I signed in 1964.
Well, of course, the man on the mound is an Oklahoman. Jenks, Oklahoma, fourth-round pick, 2002. Josh Johnson, who has been outstanding in his Marlins career. And Ryan, who acts as sort of a second leadoff guy in the 9 spot, punches one into right field.
He's been one of the few Cardinal hitters that's been on fire.
Other Marlins and where they've gone in the draft. Jeremy Hermida, of course, was the 11th overall in 02. Josh was a 4th rounder. Fred Carroll in the 10th round. Volstad a 1st rounder. Sandwich picks, both Sean West and Chris Coughlin. The sandwich pick is the supplemental round between the 1st and the 2nd round.
And I would imagine, Rich, the young Mr. James was scouted in person by Stan Meek. I'm sure Jim Fleming probably saw the youngster pitch.
Schumacher takes a strike. You talked about having Carpenter in the 8th spot and how it gave Johnson an out to finish the 2nd. The flip side of that is that the Cardinals have their leadoff guy aboard here from the number 9 spot. And now Schumacher, and if they can keep the inning going, Albert Pujols will get a chance to hit with a runner on base. And that's essentially why La Russa has gone to this. It's not for Schumacher or Ryan. It's for Pujols. He wanted more opportunities for Pujols to drive in runs once the game got going.
Yeah, I mentioned with Brendan Ryan, he's hit in 10 of his last 12.
Look at that.
That's the old style.
Yeah, I like it.
Got the low stirrups.
The sanitary socks underneath. A lot of players nowadays don't even wear the stirrups. They wear their pants so low. That's Red Shandian's like.
Yeah.
Oh, 2 in the dirt. Baker gets enough of it to keep Ryan at first.
Skip Schumacher's done a nice job at second base. Of course, the Marlins and Cardinals share the beautiful facility up at Roger Dean Stadium. And that was quite an experiment for St. Louis, for Cardinal fans, with Schumacher learning that second base position all spring.
He got a phone call just as he was leaving for spring training from Tony La Russa and said, "Skip, how you doing?" And Schumacher said, "Great, Skip." And La Russa said, "We're going to move you to second. So when you get here, be ready to play second." And Schumacher, who played a little bit of third base in high school and just a little bit in college, had played a total of 6 games on the infield in his minor or major league career, and he spanks it into left field. Ryan takes a big turn after Coughlin bobbles, but Coughlin's throw to second will keep Schumacher at first, and an error on Chris Coughlin. The Cardinals are set up at the corners.
Well, a couple of aggressive base runners, and with the turn of Ryan, once he saw the bobble, he had no problem getting to third base. So it'll be a base hit. There's the turn, and hardly any hesitation because he saw that play right in front of him. Good base running by Brendan Ryan. So base hit and an error charged to Chris Coughlin.
Chris Duncan. That's a base hit. That'll score a run. Schumacher to second, and the Cardinals are on the board first.
Been a few pitches that Josh has left up, fastballs, and not so much up, but also right out over the plate. So the big guy, Chris Duncan, could get good extension and had a good swing on that fastball middle of the plate.
Mark Wiley out to talk to Johnson. Daniel from North Lauderdale emails. We all know that Hanley is almost a lock to make the All-Star team. Do you see Josh Johnson making the All-Star team as a second Marlin? Any other players have a chance? Hanley actually has slid to second in the voting. Jimmy Rollins got a big push from Phillies fans, so Marlin fans.
Yeah, Marlins fans, get on the ball because Jimmy Rollins is not having an All-Star year. He's sitting in the 220s, and Hanley is 7th in the National League with his .330 batting average.
Here's the voting. The vote leaders: Rollins out in front, Utley a big leader at second, as is Pujols at first. Raul Ibanez is now the outfield leader. And Pujols, the guy climbing in by about 10,000 votes, is the leader for all All-Stars in the National League. Well, this is exactly what Tony La Russa has drawn up, a chance to get Pujols to the plate with runners on base. And although he is 0 for his last 12, he's an imposing figure, especially when you can't pitch around him.
Well, no outs, and the Cardinals have put together 3 straight singles.
I think Josh Johnson is certainly the second best chance of being a Marlin All-Star. If Jorge Cantu were to have a couple of hot weeks and add to his RBI total, he might merit consideration. We've actually talked about Kiko Calero and the year that he's had, but it's tough to make it as a middle reliever.
Yeah, those middle relievers just don't get the love.
Where's the love right now for Josh Johnson? Ryan, Schumacher, and Duncan have all singled. Schumacher and Duncan still out there. And he's 2-1 on a dangerous man. King Albert. Pujols is a great draft story. He wasn't a first rounder. He moved from the Dominican Republic when he was 16 and went to high school in Missouri. And was not a first round pick at all. In fact, you have to slide back down in the draft to find Pujols, and there's a nice twist to that story, and it involves a Marlin. Pujols drills that to center field and deep. Back goes Ross at the track, reaches up and makes the catch. The runners were not tagging, and they both have to go back. That comes from not playing in this ballpark and knowing how much room is out there.
Well, we chastised Hanley Ramirez early in the year for base running that way and not tagging. I think in the case of the runners with the Cardinals, they just don't know the ballpark. If you know the ballpark, and if you know Cody Ross, you know he's going to find that little crease out there and make the catch. But both runners, Schumacher and Duncan, went halfway, even a little bit more. Cody Ross ran it down, and they're still at their same bases. So that's a big play.
And a big out to get. Pujols, by the way, was taken in the 13th round, the 402nd player overall in the draft.
Boy, think of all the players that were picked ahead of Albert Pujols.
One of them is here tonight. In fact, he was taken right in front of Pujols. And he's a Marlin. He was a Marlin. He wasn't drafted by the Marlins. I believe he was drafted by the Angels. Chopper towards first. Cantu off the bag and steps on the bag in time. Alfredo Amezaga was the player that was taken right before Albert Pujols.
That's amazing. Hey, by the way, I think you saw and heard a little frustration from Albert Pujols. Not too many times in his career has he gone 0 for 13. And with that fly ball being chased down by Cody Ross, King Albert is 0 for his last 13.
Well, not many times has he hit a ball 420 feet and had nothing to show for it, which is what he did here in the third. If JJ can get out of this with just the one run, he will feel good about himself. Rick Ankiel singled in the second. Ankiel, of course, a former pitcher, transformed himself into an everyday player. We have angry emailers on Tuesday night. We also have an angry all-star, an angry MVP.
You know, he's pretty good. He goes back out of sight of everybody, and if you're going to get angry, that's the way to do it. Just shows you the frustrations of this game. A .334 lifetime hitter gets angry.
He's still pacing back and forth with Ankiel at the plate. Ankiel, all the way back in '97, was a second-round pick of the Cardinals. And, of course, he was a pitcher. And it was the postseason meltdown back in 2000 when all of a sudden he lost his confidence, lost his control. The Cardinals, to their credit, stuck with him, and he wanted to make the switch from pitcher to position player. And you know what? He went to the minor leagues, and he came back, and he's in the big leagues now, and he's a pretty good everyday player. In fact, he had 25 homers last year.
He was second in the National League in the Rookie of the Year voting in that year. He was a pitcher in his rookie year.
Drives that ball to right, hits it pretty well. Back goes Hermida, and it's over his head and off the wall. 2 runs will score. Ankiel's headed for third, and he'll be thrown out on a ball that looked like it might be caught at the wall in right. The Cardinals get 2 runs. Ankiel gets credit for a 2-run double. Rick Ankiel with a big hit on a ball that glanced off the wall in right field. Jeremy Hermida at the last minute made a leap for it, but came up empty.
You know, really not close with the leap because Jeremy Hermida did not get leather on that. Well played by Cody Ross, who alertly picked it up. 8-4-5 to get Ankiel at third base.
And so Chris Carpenter has exactly what he needs, and that's a 3-0 lead. Carpenter, who has a minuscule ERA, 0.71 and dropping, misses outside to Ross. Ross, Josh Johnson, and then Chris Coghlan.
Well, we told you his last start, a complete game, threw 95 pitches in a complete game, beat Cincinnati 3-1, gave up 3 hits.
Struck out only 3 in that game. And Ross sends that one into right center field. That's a base hit. Marlins have their second hit. Ankiel up with it. And up comes Johnson. $250,000 Mustang money tickets on sale now. Register your non-winning tickets through June 11th. It's a second chance to win prizes like a 2010 Ford Mustang V6 convertible, an ultimate Florida baseball weekend getaway, or $100 gas cards. Visit FLAlottery.com. Of course, Josh Johnson in his last start homered, hit a 3-run homer. Squares the bunt and takes a strike.
Yeah, hit that big home run off Dave Bush and the Brewers.
Adam in Adventura has this email. Last night's Marlins Live, it was mentioned that Mike Stanton was promoted to Double-A, and he was. Does there have to be another move, like someone else being demoted or put on the DL, to open up a roster spot for him? Is there a maximum roster limit in the minors? I don't know what the corresponding move was, but yeah, someone has to be moved up or moved down. And the spot has to be open at all levels as you move a guy up.
And Mike Stanton selected in the second round in the 2007 draft. So he is on a fast track.
Rich and Tommy, this is from Bill in Wellington, who's going to watch the game on tape tonight because it's his 30th wedding anniversary, and if his wife caught him peeking at the TV before she goes to bed, it might be their last.
How did he find time to email us?
She's a coach's wife and gives up a lot of important times. So here's his question. Had Randy Johnson not won 300 in Washington and gone for it and won it last night, it would have been obviously a monumental event. What's the most monumental moment in baseball that you two have witnessed? And by the way, Tommy, let's play some golf. Bill in Wellington.
I like Bill's thinking there. Not on your anniversary, though, Bill.
Josh Johnson. Carpenter goes to second, gets the out. Johnson beats the throw. And the Cardinals with some good defense.
Well, I think Chris Carpenter showed you his ability as a fielder. He gets his body in good position. Watch this. Watch his feet. He's already turned when he fields that ball. Makes a strong throw to second base. Brendan Ryan tried to turn the double play. But I think it shows you the little things the Cardinals do. And everybody always says, how do the Cardinals do it? How do they win games the way they have with guys hurt in the lineup that they have? They do those things. Okay, I'm still thinking monumental things. You know, I've seen many no-hitters. I still will always remember that 7th no-hitter, Nolan Ryan.
One of the monumental things I saw was the last pitch Nolan Ryan ever threw.
How about the Griffey home run?
That was big.
600th home run. And you had the call.
I've seen a bigger moment in baseball. I was there and had a chance to interview right after the moment. Ichiro break the 84-year-old record for hits in a season.
How many? He had over 260, right?
262.
Wow.
That was pretty cool. George Sisler had the record. And Sisler's record was 256. And when he got the hit, Sisler's family was in the ballpark. In fact, they were sitting right on the rail at first base. So after he had the hit, he came around and was greeted by the family. That's going to land fair. Coughlin, it bounces out of play. Johnson has to stop at third base, but Chris Coughlin fights off a Carpenter pitch and doubles down the left field line.
Well, a good swing, and here in the third inning, it's our checkers double of the game. Sinking fastball, Coughlin slices it the other way. Chris Duncan does not have a lot of speed in left field. He can't catch up to it. And with the ball bouncing out, he holds his hands up. Josh Johnson stays at third base. So a good AB translates into a double for Coughlin.
Well, you've got a Cy Young Award winner against Emilio Bonifacio now. Bonifacio is 0 for 1. Middle infield is back, but you got a pitcher at third base. And we saw Dan Uggla throw out Benji Molina when he was back on a ground ball. Corners are creeping in. 1 ball, 1 strike. You only get so many chances against a guy like Chris Carpenter. And this is one of those chances.
Of course, Carpenter thinking strikeout, and Bonifacio has struck out 54 times this year.
Little dinker is going to fall. Base hit. Coughlin right around third. Bonifacio's racing for second, and he is safe. How about that?
Ah, that is sweet. And how about the base running of both Coughlin and Bonifacio? That's a nice answer to the Cardinals' 3 in the top half. Not hit hard. Bo Porter knows that Coughlin got a great jump, waves him home all the way. There's not even a play at the plate. But the reason no play at the plate is because of the jump that Coughlin got. And then alertly, Bonifacio, with his speed, he took second.
Boy, he was like a rocket from home to second. Still only 1 out, and a chance now to tie this game with Hanley and Cantu. Greg and Boca, do you think Hanley will ever go 40-40? I don't think so. The 40 stolen bases, I think, would be.
I think that, yeah,
that would be tough.
It's a possibility he could hit 40 home runs, but I don't think the 40 steals anymore. You want Hanley healthy.
He has 8 stolen bases. He has 8 home runs. Boy, Schumacher was almost playing right on the bag. Super Saturday on the 20th. The postgame concert with internationally known salsa star Tito Nieves, following a fireworks spectacular, all presented by Metro PCS. Oh yeah, it's the Yankees too at 7:10. Marlins at Yankees. You get a Marlins cowbell. How about that? Courtesy of Fox Sports Florida. All Tommy's idea. 1-877-MARLIN.
Always can use more cowbell.
Cantu trying to drive in a run.
By the way, trying to figure out rotations. A.J. Burnett is pitching tonight for the Yankees. It looks like the Marlins will see A.J. in that series.
We had an emailer ask if we knew the Yankees rotation for that series. Have you got the rest of it, or
no? That'd be a little too hard to figure at this point because they're going to have another start before that. We mentioned it, I think, last night. The Marlins will probably miss Josh Beckett in Boston because he's pitching tonight and will pitch again on Sunday.
But could get John Smoltz.
Yes.
Who goes out of the rotation if Smoltz goes in? Do they trade Brad Penny?
See, you're asking all these questions, and we don't have our Red Sox insider with us.
Good point. Bonifacio at third. Cantu battling against Carpenter. Carpenter, an interesting career because he started out with Toronto with lots of promise. His first 6 years with Toronto, he was 49 and 50. Then he goes and signs with the Cardinals. As a Cardinal, he's 55 and 20.
And introduced himself to Dave Duncan.
Struck him out with a Bugs Bunny curveball. Down goes Cantu, but the Marlins rally for a couple. Back-to-back doubles, Coughlin and Bonifacio. Three-two Cards, quick, cue the duck. Cardinal all-time home run hitter against the Fish. Well, Mark McGwire would be one you would think of right away.
You'd have to think Albert Pujols with 10 career home runs against the Marlins.
3-2 ball game, fourth inning. Yadier Molina fouls off that Josh Johnson slider. Molina, Tyler Green, and the pitcher Chris Carpenter. The big blow in this one for the Cardinals was the Rick Ankiel two-run double.
Very important inning, I think, for Josh Johnson. After the Cardinal three-run third, to just reestablish, take the ball down a little bit better.
Hanley to his left, little spin, and he throws him out. So there's an out. There's Chewy.
Number 27, third baseman Tyler Green.
Now this was last year, we were told. And he's got a Cardinals jersey on.
Chewy.
But is it the same one?
It's a different Chewy.
Yeah.
That Chewy would not wear a Cardinal uniform.
This Chewy is a Marlins.
Right there.
Chewy.
Marlins.
He's had his fur bleached too, I think. Some highlights. Very becoming. Tyler Green, the kid from St. Thomas Aquinas, tries to bunt, fouls it off. It's 0-1. The one on the right has better teeth as well. Good riding fastball. Jay in Holiday, Florida, wants to know, why do the Marlins have rubber warning tracks? It seems players can't slide on it, and it makes it tough and you can twist an ankle on it as well. Well,
not so sure that's a Marlins choice, to be honest with you. With the changeover of the field and everything, if that was dirt, it would be a little tougher. So that might be more of a stadium choice.
High pop. It's Hanley who makes the catch. There still are some rubber warning tracks in baseball. I would expect in the Marlins' new ballpark, the warning tracks will be dirt. These are just nasty.
The tough ones about these is that you have the seams. It's not so much you can tell as an outfielder. You can tell when you've gotten to that rubber warning track. But those are some dangerous seams out there.
Adrian Johnson letting you all know that that was a strike. Chris Carpenter is 0 for 1. Chopper to Hanley. Josh Johnson for a very brief inning. A 10-pitch inning. Nicely done. Going to the bottom of the 4th. The Duck will return with an answer. Marlins Baseball and Sun Sports brought to you by Marooney. Hey, South Florida, when you need a car, truck, or van, who are you going to call? 1-877-MAROONEY. By Checkers Little Place, Big Taste. By Corona, official sponsor of the Timeout. By Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. And by Prestige Audi, just 2 minutes south on Aventura Mall. 1-866-7-MY-AUDI today. 3-2 Cardinals up, bottom of the 4th. Marlins will bring to the plate Jeremy Hermida with Dan Uggla and John Baker, also scheduled to appear here in the 4th in a one-run game. Cardinals got a 3-0 lead for Chris Carpenter, and the Fish came back to get 2 in the 3rd. Now, Carpenter opened his career as a Blue Jay. The Marlins are going to see another Cy Young Award winner on Friday night, Roy Halladay. Differences, similarities between the two right-handers?
They are somewhat similar. They work fast. They throw a lot of strikes. I think Carpenter maybe uses the curveball, but a little bit better. But Halladay goes after hitters, sinks the ball really well.
Pujols will step on the bag. All right, I'm going McGuire on the Aflac. You going to go Pujols?
I'm going to go Pujols with 10.
It'll be like Jose Oquendo or something. Ray Langford,
left-handed hitter. Look at that. He could hit the fastball. I'll tell you what, Ray Langford could hit a fastball. Left-handed hitter.
Here is Uggla now. Dan flied to right. He's 0 for 1.
You know, we've talked about the Marlins as of late playing better at home, 5-3 on this homestand. 10 of Uggla's 11 home runs this year are at home.
Uggla since mid-May has his average at about 290, which shows you what kind of hole he was in at mid-May, with an average right around 220 right now. Pujols beats him to the bag. And so Carpenter with 2 very brief outs.
Number 21, catcher John Baker.
Josh in Birmingham University in England. If the Marlins trade Dan Uggla, do you think they would bring in another second baseman or put Chris Coghlan or Emilio Bonifacio at second?
I think either or of those things. If it depends. Number one, if that ever happens, if Dan Uggla is traded. But I think you have choices because Bonifacio is a middle infielder. Chris Coghlan was playing second base. But what do they say? Let's not put the cart ahead of the horse.
Tis true. It's 1-1. Remy in Fort Lauderdale wants to know who will be televising the Citrus Series in St. Petersburg, the 3 games against the Rays. All 3 of those games will be on. And Tommy and I will be working the Sunday game on the 28th. A 1:30 start. That's a Fox Sports Florida.
So we will make a brief appearance at the Trop on Sunday.
Well, first we'll be at on the veranda at the Vinoy.
The beautiful Vinoy.
One of the haunted hotels in baseball. Here's the 2-2.
Only if you're in the older historic section. If you're in the modernized, the newer section, not so.
My family went over a couple years ago, and that's one of their favorite hotels. They actually took a ghost tour. There's a tour in that little harbor area, and the Vinoy has a starring role.
And I think it was led by Brett Updike.
Yes. Yes, it was. He was wearing his Fox Sports visor, too, I think.
250 of these recycling bins around the hall. So don't forget to recycle. It's just another way you can do your part for free. Several Hard goes on with the Steakhouse Pictures Vegas table game. Blackjack, background, October 2300 Vegas sales slots and more. Get $20 for free lots with your sign up. Players Club Card. 954-3271.
One, two, three, four. Hi, Tony.
Yeah.
Three-two ball game. Cardinals on top of the Marlins. It's in the 5th inning here, and we're joined now by Tony Perez, Hall of Famer. How are you?
Fine. How you doing?
It's good to have you. Now, the latest edition of the Sporting News has an article that you had a piece in, not necessarily about you, but you were one of the guys they called, and they 100 of the top names in baseball through baseball history. You were included in that list, and they polled all of you to see who the top players in baseball were. And Albert Pujols is on the list as number 1. Was he your number 1 guy?
Yep. Right now he is. I mean, Albert is year after year he proved He's a great player. He's a great hitter, and really he helped the Cardinals a lot. I know they really proud of having him in the lineup.
I think the thing, and with Tony up here, Rich, too, guys who are consistent. You were consistent, 90, 100 RBIs every year. A guy like Albert Pujols is consistent.
Right.
And when you see somebody do it 8 years in a row, 100 RBIs, they're special.
He is a special. He doing it, like you say, every year after year. And he never miss. I mean, he have a certain time, he have hard times, but you know at the end of the year, at the end of the season, he's going to be around there.
Well, that's why you worry a little bit now, because he's 0 for 13, and you know that's not going to last.
Well, I know. But I hope he's keep doing it in here, but you know he's going to last for long.
Brendan Ryan is at the plate, leading off for the Cardinals. He's the number 9 hitter, and he goes down swinging. All right, here's the top 5 from the Sporting News Magazine article. There's the magazine that we held up. Pujols is number 1. And if you look inside, number 5 is included as well. Hanley Ramirez made the list as number 5.
Tony, my question on Hanley. How can Hanley get better?
Well, he will get better. He will get better because this is his third year in the big leagues. And he's the first time he's hitting third and the lineup. He was a leadoff hitter. He had to learn how to be consistent, driving in runs like Pujols. I mean, he will. I think he will because we talking about it every day in the batting cage. Like last night, he told me last night, I picked one. You know, when he hit the sacrifice fly, and he tried to get better, driving in runs, and he will.
Other guys on that list there: Alex Rodriguez, number 2; Johan Santana, number 3; Manny Ramirez, number 4. Where did you have Manny on your list? Was he in your top 5?
Yes, Manny is he can hit. I mean, he's a guy, but he's not a great outfielder. He's not one of the top outfielders in baseball, but he's there on the top hitter in baseball. When he wants to play, he's one of the best. At the plate, and he got to be there. He got to be in the top 5.
Only one pitcher in the top 5, and that's Santana.
He's proving every year he's doing the job for everywhere he goes. He came from Minnesota to the Mets, and he helping the Mets get into the playoff last year.
So the Sporting News, they just call you out of the blue. There's a lot of great names on that list. Willie McCovey, Greg Maddux, Stan Musial, Tony Gwynn, Brooks Robinson. Did you get to cheat? Did you get to call any of those guys and say who you're going to vote for?
No, I did.
He sees those guys. He sees those guys in Cooperstown every
July. Every July, but I didn't cheat. No.
You're looking forward to that again this year, going back?
Oh yeah, we're coming back.
There's a squibber towards third. Bonifacio races over, has it, and flips to first. Tony, thanks for stopping by, and it's a good read. Pick it up, the Sporting News Magazine. Tony Perez and his contemporaries voting on the top players in baseball. All right, Tony, thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you.
Buen batazo que... Buen batazo que...
Get out of here!
¡Se fue!
He got it!
El primer jonrón de la temporada.
Off a 300-game winner.
Tremendo palo el que acaba de dar Carlos.
Nice going. Congratulations, BC.
Oh, good stuff. Press the SAP button.
En el camión.
Cookie and Raul appear. Hi, guys.
Fellas, how you doing?
Yeah, el primero home run.
Sí, señor.
He'll never forget that one, I'm
yeah.
sure.
No, he won't. Cody Ross is at the plate. Chris Carpenter
Y Chris Carpenter le viene con bola pegada.
got some good
Cody
pitchers
Ross.
on the mound.
Yeah,
Cookie.
what about West yesterday?
Yeah, that was something. On a night where the Marlins had two things converging at once, a no-hitter and almost a cycle.
Y aquí le da
And
duro
Ross
entre
dumps
dos.
one into left center
Y es el
field.
segundo hit del juego para Cody.
Cookie, did you ever hit for the cycle?
No, I don't think so. I don't think I ever got to that point.
Yeah. It's not easy to do because it's not something you strive to do. It just kind of happens almost by accident.
I didn't, I couldn't hit too many home runs, so I only needed a hurricane weather to get that home run over the fence. I might have the three of them, single, double, and triple, but never the home run.
All right, guys, have a good
All right,
show.
guys.
You too, guys.
That was not in our Miccosukee weather. This time, Johnson pulls the bunt towards first a little bit more, and Carpenter, instead of getting the out at second, gets the out at first. So Ross is 2 for 2, and JJ gets a successful sacrifice.
Yeah, it's interesting just the little difference in where that bunt was back in the third inning. It was more toward the mound and a little harder. Carpenter was able to make the play and get the out at second base. This time a little more up the first base line, and nicely done by JJ.
Here is Coughlin now. He had an RBI, or rather had a double in the third. It was not an RBI double because it bounced out of play. Otherwise, it probably would have scored Josh Johnson. Email from Jordan in Cooper City. I'm what you might consider an avid ball hawk, so I'm curious. Did the fan who caught BC's first homer yesterday, on a great catch I might add, end up giving Carroll the ball? And the reports are yes. I think BC gave him a bat, signed it, and the guy was very gracious. We had him on last night after he caught it. He said, "You know what? I don't want to hold him up for anything." There he is.
He's back at it again. See, he's not in his ready position because he knows a left-handed hitter is up. And more than likely, Chris Coughlin's not going to go deep into the opposite field.
Carpenter misses up and in, and it's 1-2 on Coughlin.
I'll tell you an interesting stat on the Marlins tonight against Chris Carpenter. It tells you a little bit about their approach against him. Only 2 swings and misses against Carpenter tonight.
Ground ball up the middle. Schumacher goes to first in time. So Ross is at third, and it's up to Bonifacio, who drove in 2 with a double earlier tonight. Family Sunday on the 21st. Marlins Yankees at 5:05. First 5,000 dads get a Marlins t-shirt courtesy of Metro PCS 1-877. Marlins, she might be using Metro PCS. Bonifacio's bounced out and then doubled.
You know, the idea is to get that runner over at third, less than 2 out. So obviously Chris Coughlin wasn't trying to do that. But with Bonifacio up there, it's important that Cody Ross got there, because any bobble in the infield, a bump base hit, and the Marlins can tie the game. And it's especially so because of the speed of Bonifacio.
Off of Carpenter's glove. Here comes Ross, and he scores.
Just like that. So just by making contact and not striking out, the ground ball by Coughlin set the stage for the infield base hit, and Bonifacio has driven in all 3 runs tonight. Carpenter couldn't quite find it. He knew he touched it by the time he found it with the speed. I'm telling you, by the time he found it, Bonifacio was by first base.
He would have had a better shot of trying to get Ross at home. And here's Hanley now, who's 0 for 2. And Bonifacio may be on the move.
That's a type of run you'd like to see the Marlins get more of. A leadoff single, got to second on the sack, advanced 90 feet on a ground ball out, and scored.
Yadier Molina is the best in the business at throwing out base runners, and he's behind the plate. In fact, since 2005, he has thrown out 43% of base stealers. That's an incredible number. And he leads all of baseball in that time with pickoffs. He's picked off 4 runners this year, 30 in his career. He is a great catcher.
I think if you look at catchers nowadays, because the average has gone down, pitchers are a little slower to the plate. 25-30% is considered very good. He's well over 40%.
That's a nasty pitch. I mean, you're thinking you're going to get something good to hit at 2-0, and he drops a breaking ball in the outside corner.
Well, the good sign by Hanley is that he didn't swing, because he was obviously looking for something that he could drive, something he could hit well.
Two-one pitch is fouled back to the screen. The other night, and this is from Bill in Palm Beach Gardens, you guys were showing a pitcher and said he better watch out. It was Lincecum. Remember, he was blowing on his hand, that if he touched his mouth, it would be a balk. And I've watched many pitchers lick their fingers on the pitching hand before they throw. There's no call or otherwise. What's the ruling? Well, one thing I wanted to clarify is after I said that, I went back to check the rule because I wasn't sure if it was a balk or a ball.
Yeah, it's a ball.
It's a ball. And it all depends on the weather. If it's cold enough, umpires will allow pitchers to blow into their hand while on the rubber.
Yeah, they'll let both pitchers know. They'll let both benches know.
But if Carpenter were to reach up, lick his fingers here, it would be a ball. And it would be a 3-2 count on Hanley Ramirez. And that's the obviously reason for that rule, is to get away from the whole Gaylord Perry load up the spitter.
Yeah, every once in a while you'll see a pitcher mistakenly just got to go to his mouth, and an umpire will catch it and it'll be a ball.
Sean from Boca, what section does Chewy sit in? I want a picture with him.
I think Chewy moves around.
Well, you don't think he has a permanent home?
I think he likes to mix it up a little.
It's inside. Carpenter not happy. Bonifacio is now at second, and Hanley is aboard.
First walk of the night for Carpenter. There's Chewy. Where's your ticket stub?
First base side. I don't know the section number.
Just beyond first base.
Look for the hairy guy.
Easy to find.
Yeah. You can probably smell him before you see him. Cantu takes outside.
Yeah, Carpenter unhappy with that last pitch, the curveball to Hanley that walked him.
Two and 0. Chris Carpenter with a minuscule ERA when this game started. Cantu hits a pop-up. Ryan is out there. Duncan almost ran over Ryan. But he clutches that third out. NBA Finals, of course, the showdown, live postgame coverage after the game on Sun Sports, immediately following the game on Sun Sports.
This number gives you a good idea of how it just, oh. Boy, that backswing caught John Baker.
And he's bleeding. Pujols, who fouled that pitch back, and the backswing clipped Baker. Remember, Jason Kendall was here at the start of the homestand. He had a black eye from one of these. Oh.
Fastball in, the backswing catches the side, and you can hear it.
You know, for Baker, as a catcher, it's such a vulnerable spot because you can't be too far behind the plate. There's only so far you can play back. But when a guy as big as Pujols finishes his swing with one hand, Baker doesn't want to come out of the game.
It is something, and I don't know if I've ever heard this discussed a lot, but it is something that I've seen a lot more over the last 10 years because of the type of swing. More guys swing and release that hand. It started about 10 years ago. Years ago, you didn't see backswings as often hit catchers the way we see it more often nowadays. And I think it's because of the batters that have the swing where they release, totally extend that bat, and when they come back around, that catcher's very vulnerable.
And like I said, when you talk to catchers, they tell you, look, I can't play much deeper behind the plate because a pitch is a called strike as it comes over the plate. And so if you're a catcher, you have to be in a position to catch that ball. If you go so far back that you're not in a proper position, then you're compromising the pitch. You're compromising the pitcher.
Yeah, I wanted to give you a good number on Josh Johnson. Early on, he was trying to find his way out there. Didn't look like he was settled in. The first time through the lineup, JJ was 3 of 9 in first pitch strikes. Since that time, he's gone 11 out of 12. So much crisper with his fastball, better location, and has thrown the ball better the last couple of innings.
We'll get you an update on John Baker as soon as we can, but obviously cut by that backswing from Pujols. Craig, what do you have for us?
Well, guys, you know, and I'm not, I didn't really notice where Albert Pujols' right foot is, but from my angle here, boy, there's so many times a game I look and say, boy, it looks like that guy is out of the batter's box. That right foot, it's really not policed. You don't really see anybody ever move a guy up. It gets pretty much scribbled out of the way early in the game. And maybe that's something I got to look at a little closer, because as Tommy mentioned, you see it more and more often. The only thing you can police really is to make sure that batter is on that line or above. And it seems to me from this angle a lot, they are not in the batter's box on the outside of that box.
Yeah, he's either on the line, which is not there, or he's way behind it, but you can't tell because the line's not there.
You can't tell, and they don't. And look, if you look at the right ankle, that ankle looks like it's not within the line.
Yeah, he's outside the batter's box. You know, the other thing that contributes to that check swing, he went around. Just in watching that sequence, the other thing that contributed to that was it was in an inside pitch.
Yeah.
And Baker was kind of leaning to his left because it was an inside pitch. If that's a low breaking ball on the outside, Baker probably isn't as vulnerable. And you can hear Pujols tearing up the dugout again.
Those who follow the Cardinals, we talked with numerous people today, some of their broadcasters, some of their coaches.
That's smoked, and it's fair. Down the line it goes. Hermida into the corner. Rasmus will pull in with a double.
We're telling us when Albert Pujols goes into one of these funks, and he doesn't go into many, the main thing that happens is his identification of pitches. And you saw him chase that pitch for strike 3 and even swing at the pitch that he fouled off. So usually he's much better at identifying balls and strikes, and he's a little out of that right now.
I would say this, too, about Pujols. In the little time that I've been around him and from other people that know him a lot better than I do, he probably is bothered by what has just happened. The backswing hitting Baker.
Yes.
Because Pujols is one of the great men in this game of baseball. In fact, Pujols won the Roberto Clemente Award. That's the award that's given to the player that embodies all that Clemente stood for, sort of the man of the year in terms of what he does on the field, what he does in the clubhouse, and what he does in the community. And Pujols in all 3 of those areas is enormous.
Hey, this is the right move here. You have Ankiel, who's 2 for 2. He swung the bat well against JJ. Then you have 2 right-handed hitters, then the pitcher. Remember, once again, Carpenter hitting in the 8th spot. So you have Molina and Green to follow. So first base was open. You put Ankiel on.
Back to our emails. The Prummels in Deerfield Beach. Watching your telecast of the games and watch as often as possible. Considering the terrific week that Cody Ross has had, do you think that you can talk your producer into a quick montage of his catches this week? Well, John Sulzer is our producer, and so hopefully someone in the truck is twisting his arm right now. Molina goes after that first pitch fastball. Runners are tagging. Hermida makes the catch. And on his way to third is Rasmus. So the Cardinals are set up runners at the corners. And as Tyler Green comes to the plate, here's a look at the best of Cody Ross from this last week.
Montage to his right, to his left, straight in. Thing of beauty, even had one going back and making an over-the-shoulder catch tonight in the 3rd inning off Albert Pujols.
He robbed Benji Molina of a extra base hit in similar fashion in the Giant series as well. So here's Green, who is 0 for 2. Local product, fouls it back.
Yeah, after he had a nice run at St. Thomas Aquinas in Fort Lauderdale, went on to Georgia Tech.
Was the captain of the Yellow Jackets, was an All-American. Johnson goes to first. Stephen in Miami. On our 30th wedding anniversary, my wife will not get mad if I peek at the TV to watch the Marlins. She'll actually be switching the channel to the game. As opposed to your buddy who's out to dinner with his wife for their 30th anniversary tonight.
Well, he wasn't my buddy. He just, you know.
Well, the Let's Play Golf Tommy at the end.
Yeah,
I think he's
trying to put that together. It was from Wellington, wasn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
I think it was Bill, right? 0-2. Going to throw over to first. Ian wants to know what I meant by a Bugs Bunny curveball.
It's a good question.
I don't know if we have the file footage of the Bugs Bunny start, his last start. The 0-2. But Bugs Bunny, here's the breaking ball from Carpenter that we were talking about. Bugs Bunny throws a great changeup, so slow that the batter will swing 3 times on its way to the plate. And he also throws that looping curveball.
Big looping curve.
The one that goes up and down and all around. Here's the move by Johnson. I'm dating myself with this, but Bugs Bunny, there might be some people out there that, some young fans that don't watch Bugs Bunny. Can you imagine that?
Yeah, but they've heard of Bugs Bunny.
I'm trying to think of a SpongeBob analogy for that breaking ball, but I really can't at this point. I'll work on it. Hanley looking up. Makes the catch, and JJ pitches out of trouble in a 3-3 game in South Florida tonight. Coors Light 6th inning. Time now for the Coors Light Freeze Cam. Drifting towards the wall, Jeremy Hermida just missed this one, and that was a big play. That was a 2-run double off the bat of Rick Ankiel. Our Coors Light Freeze Cam. Hermida leads it off against Chris Carpenter. Carpenter and Josh Johnson locked in a 3-3 duel. Hermida, Ugla, Baker. Oh, excuse me. Hermida, Ugla, Paulino. The word on Baker was the obvious one. He has a laceration over the left eye. Jeremy fouls it off. And Herm pulls that one foul. Cedric in Miami pointing out that every time a ball is thrown in the dirt to the catcher, it's replaced by the umpire. How many baseballs do they have for each game, since they seem to go through so many? As we pointed out, and as Cedric points out, oftentimes balls get hit on the ground in the infield and not replaced.
I believe it's somewhere, it's probably gone up over the years, somewhere between 4 and 6 dozen.
And the balls are all rubbed with a mud mixture that comes from a special, is it the Delaware River?
Delaware River, yeah. Outside of, I think outside Philadelphia. Outside Philly, yeah.
There might be more than mud then in the baseballs.
Make sure you.
Toxic.
This batch is a little lumpy.
Fly ball to left. Duncan is there, and he makes the catch. $250,000 Mustang money tickets on sale now. And if you don't win, you can register your non-winning ticket through the 11th for a second chance to win great prizes that include a 2010 Ford Mustang V6 convertible, ultimate Florida baseball weekend getaway, or $100 gas cards. Visit FLAlottery.com.
You know, something to look forward to in about a week. Jeremy Hermida hits that same ball in Boston. It's off the monster. And it's a very shallow fly ball here.
That's a fly ball that Duncan is going to miss. Oh, goodness. Duncan goes down. Ryan goes right over top of him.
Boy, those two came very close to colliding earlier in the game.
We were talking about the warning tracks here and how treacherous they are. This would have been treacherous regardless of a rubber or a dirt warning track, but maybe a little softer landing for both.
Here comes Duncan. He's got his eye on it, and all of a sudden Ryan sees him and then tries to get out of the way. And fortunately for the Cardinals, it looks like both are okay and going to stay in the game. That could have been disastrous for Tony La Russa. Yeah, remember on that shallow pop-up, Ryan ended up catching it, but had Chris Duncan right on his back. He was coming in from left field. Ryan getting a chance to play every day now with Khalil Green on the DL.
So Ugly with the count 0-1 against Carpenter. 1 out, bottom 6.
These two pitchers have been very similar. Each has had a poor inning, but then they've been able to regroup and have good innings.
Ryan around that ball. Good shortstop. So 2 outs, and here comes Paulino. All-Star balloting is here again. Make sure you vote early and often for your favorite fish or anybody in the big leagues. Fans can help the Marlins get Hanley or Cantu or somebody to the All-Star game. You can do it online at marlins.com.
Looks like the Red Sox got to A.J. Burnett tonight. Boston with a 6-0 lead in the 4th inning. Josh Beckett and A.J. Burnett in that game. I think A.J.'s out of there, though, now.
Paulino fouls one back. You know, not a lot of Marlins have a history against Carpenter, but look, Paulino's actually 3 for 9 there.
He's one of the few that has just seen him a little bit.
He drives that ball to center field. Rasmus back, and he makes the catch. Hey, Ronnie hit that well. Still 3-3.
The new statewide 511 is coming soon. Learn about the changes by going to 511southflorida.com and click on the What's New box. A free service for FDOT and MDS.
On the right side, you get the Bullpen feed on the Univision Netscast, presented by Radio Monday.
3-3 ball game. It's the 7th inning. It's Craig Minervini. Craig?
Thank you very much, Rich. Well, no start tonight for Brett Carroll, but what a nice homestand, a nice little run he's been on. And not just defensively, as you saw last night. Carroll has now started 4 of the last 7 games. He has an average up to 270 in the year. He's 6 for 15 in the homestand. He had that big 3-run shot last night. One thing Freddie Gonzalez told us today after he took this pie last night, probably the best pie he's ever had, that one from Cody Ross, a shaving cream variety, was that when they sent him down, and this is his second stint this year, they knew they never really gave him a shot. And we had talked about on the air, would he get a spot start? And he went a while without getting a start. And now he's getting a chance really because, as Freddie mentioned to us, with Coughlin and Hermida, 2 left-handed bats now in the outfield, you do get a chance to get that right-handed bat in there, and Amezaga injured, and spot him sometimes against the lefty or get him in there. And you see the confidence growing. And Freddie said, look, if he keeps coming up and getting hits for us, he's going to get more playing time as well.
That's good stuff, and we saw that too in the at-bats leading up to that. He kept having better and better at-bats because he was getting more at-bats. Ryan Ludwig pinch hitting, by the way, for Chris Carpenter. And what a year Ryan Ludwig had last year for St. Louis in his first really full season as a major leaguer. He kind of bounced around a lot. Many organizations.
6 different organizations.
37 home runs, 113 RBIs, and was an all-star.
So Ludwig hitting for Carpenter. Cardinal bullpen's pretty good. Their closer, Ryan Franklin, has blown just 1 save this year. You see the year that Ludwig had last year, an all-star last year. And that was his first full season in the big leagues. That would be strike 3 call. Josh Johnson punches out Ryan Ludwig to open up the 7th inning.
Yeah, it's amazing, and this is a great sign, and it just shows you how good Josh Johnson is getting. Struggled the first 3 innings. Really couldn't find the strike zone. He made some mistakes. But over the last 3-4 innings now, he has been right on with his pitches.
Brendan Ryan. There's the bunt. Paulino pops out, fires to first in time. Remember, the Marlins are playing with 1 catcher now. If you've just joined us, John Baker was injured on a backswing by Albert Pujols, cut above his left eye, had to leave the game, and Paulino is behind home plate. A Wainwright-Volstad matchup tomorrow. Afternoon game on Thursday with Andrew Miller and Todd Wellemeyer.
17 out of 18 first pitch strikes after that 3 out of 9 start.
We've had a few Brett Carroll emails go by. This one from Robert. Why isn't Brett Carroll playing tonight after almost hitting for the cycle? Well, you got one of the best right-handed pitchers in all of baseball tonight. And matchup-wise, not a good one for BC. There may be a time in his career where he is an everyday player and he plays against guys like Chris Carpenter or Roy Halladay.
I think we'll see him because the Marlins don't see a lefty until the last game of that Toronto series. You see Brian Talent. So up until then, all righties, but I think we might see Brett in one of the games against a righty.
Maybe the day game after the night game, the Thursday game. Skip Schumacher at the plate.
And that's a subtle thing for managers, but you try to pick that right-hander that you think Brett might have a better chance against.
Kyle McClellan down in the bullpen. 3-2 coming. That one's fouled back. Our Geico quote of the night. Brett Carroll, when asked if he was thinking about the cycle, I'd be lying if I told you I wasn't thinking about getting that double in his last at bat. The interesting thing was Sean West talking about that. Swing and a miss. West knew he had the no-hitter going, but he also knew that Carroll was a double shy of the cycle.
Kept his mind off the no-hitter.
3-3 in this one. Time to bring up to speed with the AT&T Rapid Rewind. AT&T, the nation's fastest 3G network. AT&T, your world delivered. Josh Johnson looks like the end of the road as he goes 7 strong innings in a 3-3 game, hoping that his ball club can get a run here, which would make him eligible for a win. Kyle McClellan takes over for Chris Carpenter.
Now the last 4 games now for JJ, he's gone 7 or more innings. So he's going to sit back, hope his club can get him a run. Ross Gload will be pinch hitting for him, and they'll have to do it against Kyle McClellan. Good sinking fastball there to tie up Cody.
Firestone leaderboard. Grand slams this year. Ryan Howard has 3 slams already. Cody Ross with a couple. Albert Pujols, no surprise.
I think the third one, if I remember correctly, that Howard hit was his 8th career Grand Slam, which put him 1 past Mike Schmidt on the Philly all-time list.
McClellan had a great rookie year last year as a middleman. Ankiel makes the catch. And so Ross is out number 1, and Ross Glode is batter number 2 on this email Tuesday night. And I know we haven't been able to slide in as many as we can in a 3-3 game.
And 2 pitchers working quickly in Carpenter and Josh Johnson. Dan Meyer getting ready, and as we mention often, good numbers and a terrific job by the veteran. Ross Glode 7 for 25 off the bench.
Draft night tonight. Some unusual draft picks in Marlins history. Ross Glode was a 13th round pick out of South Florida. John Lynch, the Pro Bowl safety in '92, was a draft pick as well. Didn't sign, of course. Adam LaRoche didn't sign.
Mark Kotze back off the disabled list with the Red Sox now.
And, of course, Adrian Gonzalez, the fine All-Star for the Padres. The Marlins traded him to get Ugueth Urbina from the Texas Rangers. And, of course, Urbina was a big part, final piece of the puzzle, if you will, in 2003. I guess, you know what, I think Jeff Conine was probably the final piece of the puzzle in 2000.
Pretty good piece of that puzzle, too. I think that's something people forget. You draft, and not all of those picks, first of all, they're not all going to make it, but even the ones that turn out to be good players, sometimes you use them to acquire players, such as the Adrian Gonzalez deal.
There's a strike. Jacob in Miami wondering if you can pass this along to Marlins ownership. How about the Marlins bring out the teal caps for opening game in 2012?
I don't know about the teal caps, but for some reason I just thought of this. Maybe not necessarily throwing out the first pitch, but certainly should be invited to be in attendance is Charlie Huff.
Coughlin bounces it out to second. Heard Charlie Huff on the radio the other day doing traffic for Dan Levitard. It was pretty funny.
Fans check out Ross visit for a sneak peek at the new ballpark coming in 2012. Believe it or not, the new Ross ballpark will have a chart to protect the fields and the public. Take advantage of the covered plaza area on non-game days. Fans check out Ross visit to see who the Marlins selected in the first round of the 2009 Major League Baseball expert draft earlier this evening. The selection was a high school pitcher by the name of Chad James, a left-handed pitcher from Yukon High School in Yukon, Oklahoma.
Chad James, the state of Oklahoma, Johnny was smiling, what makes a smile on your face? I tell you again, if you look at the lefties that come up with all the good pitchers, this kid's very similar. He's wiry, strong, 6'3", 6'4", 180. He's projected with a good body. He's got a good arm. He's got a good breaking ball. These guys are going really well. The Florida club is going really well with Oklahoma a couple of times, and it does really well. I think this is a good pick here. It's a projectable left-hander. When you look at what Florida has done with the Sean West and the Jonathan Duncan, and on and on and on with those pitchers, this kid's going to fit right into that. Stan Nate for scouting director. He's at Oklahoma. You probably saw this guy more than anybody else. And the opportunity to get a left-handed pitcher like that with the spin the curveball, good, solid mechanics, I think it's an excellent pick for him.
Your next one is now pitching here for Marlins, number 53, Dan Meyer, the new Marlins pitcher. Leading off the 8th inning of the Marlins, number 16, left-hander.
We told you this was a matchup of aces, and both aces are gone. Josh Johnson and Chris Carpenter have departed. Kyle McClellan and Dan Meyer have taken over. McClellan for the Cards, Meyer for the Fish. And Meyer will open up the 8th inning against Chris Duncan, Albert Pujols, and Colby Rasmus, although in the Marlins bullpen there is action, so possibly maybe just Duncan for Meyer. One hopper, Cantu has it. One pitch, one out.
Nicely picked by Jorge Cantu.
Time now for the State of the Game Hold today, brought to you by Just for Men Hair Color. Scott Shields, Carlos Marmol, Hideki Okajima, Tony Pena, and Heath Bell since 2007. Just as Miller relievers keep their team in the game, you too can stay in the game with Just for Men Hair Color. Hang that cue up there. The reliever quick outs are in teal.
A lot of cues for Josh Johnson. 11 cues. By the way, Heath Bell not getting the holds this year. He's getting the saves for San Diego.
Had Duncan reached, I'll bet you Meyer would not be facing Pujols. And he gets him to pop out.
Good changeup.
Boy, Pujols has angrily gone into the dugout numerous times tonight. You don't want to be near the bat rack right now.
He has reached now his longest hitless streak since 2007, when he was 0 for 15, which he is right now, 0 for 15. The longest of his career back in 2001, he was 0 for 17. So even the best in this game struggled.
Colby Rasmus takes outside. You know, I would read another email, but right now on my computer, we're watching Bugs Bunny throw curveballs. Somebody sent us, emailed us the link to the Bugs Bunny. You can Google it or Bing it or whatever, but Bugs Bunny with his changeup and curveball, looking a lot like Dan Meyer.
What a nice inning.
Our Prestige Audi Moments brought to you by Prestige Audi, 2 minutes south of Aventura Mall. 1-866-7 My Audi today. On the night of Emilio Bonifacio, drove in 2 with that double and drives in 1 with this infield single. And those are the 3 runs against Chris Carpenter, delivered by an unlikely source.
As he is the delivery man here, leading off this bottom of the 8th inning. How about a 5-pitch inning for Dan Meyer in the top half? Just terrific.
Bonifacio, Hanley, Cantu. Here in the bottom of the 8th inning. Rich Waltz, Tommy Hutton, Craig Minervini, John Solser, our producer, Jim Hawley, our highly regarded director, Ken Lee, our generally well-liked graphics coordinator, Matt Lidstrom, getting ready in case the Marlins get the lead here. Pittsburgh and Atlanta back at it again tonight. 3-2 Pirates.
After what, 15 innings last night?
Boy, what a terrific game that was. If you saw the highlights, Andrew McCutchen, the young outfielder for the Pirates, had a couple triples and a double.
He was 4 for 7.
Nate McLeod homering against his old team. Mets 5-4 over the Phillies in the 7th.
So the young guy, McCutchen, who kind of took McLeod's space in center field.
By the way, Miami's Raul Ibanez has hit his 20th homer in that ball game. Ryan Howard is 18th. David Wright and Carlos Beltran homering for the Mets. 5-4 Mets over the Phillies in the 7th. Here it's 3-3. Cardinals, Marlins. Bonifacio, a leadoff walk. Not a lot of them this season, but this is a big one.
Well, that's a nice one. Very patient on that last pitch to reach, leading off this 8th inning. Good job.
All right, now here are the dynamics of this. You've got Bonifacio at first base with his 11 stolen bases, and you've got Hanley at the plate. What's going through Freddie's mind in terms of trying to create a run here?
Well, you're not going to put the sacrifice on.
Understood.
With Hanley, you're going to let him swing.
I was thinking more of like, when would you start Bonifacio?
You'd like to get him going, but again, we point out the fact that Molina's so tough back there. 42% throwing runners out. So it's not easy. He'll have to get a look at McClellan to the plate and see how his delivery is.
Now McClellan's simply going to wait Hanley out.
And right now, Bonifacio does not have a very big lead.
Email bag Angel in Boynton Beach. If a runner and an infielder reach the bag at the same time, does the tie go to the runner, as the old adage says? I've heard this thrown around for ages as gospel, but I was recently chastised for believing it by an amateur umpire. Can you guys clear this up for me?
Well, I don't know if you should have been chastised, but it is kind of just an old adage. There is not a rule that says that. But it's something you've heard as a kid, ever since you were a kid.
I think it was first started by a runner.
Yeah. Hey, I tied him.
Tie goes to the runner. Hanley dumps that one down the right field line. It's twisting and turning and foul. If a fielder had thought of it first, then the old adage would be tie goes to the fielder.
Hanley had a good look at this, and you could tell by the way he came out of the box that he thought it was going to be foul, but I tell you what, it wasn't foul by that much. Well, the Marlins played 4 consecutive one-run games. Then they had the 4-0 shutout, their first shutout of the year last night. So good close baseball games in this homestand.
My name is Emma, and I live in Baldwinsville, New York. I'm 11 years old, who is the youngest Marlin to ever play on the team. Youngest Marlin ever. Bonifacio is back.
I want to throw out a name that you might not even know. Felix Heredia. Left-handed pitcher, but that's just a guess.
Is he related to Gil Heredia? The boys in the truck are saying Jesus Sanchez.
But this is unofficial.
One-two pitch coming. Check swing, ball in the dirt. Molina busts out of there, picks up the ball. And he went around.
Well, he gets it out and then tucks it back to try to hold it there. Molina with the nice play to scramble around and get the out. Now, for sure, you have to look for Bonifacio to try to steal.
Not running. And chopper, it's a fair ball out there. That is quite a turn. What a double play. Tyler Green to Skip Schumacher, a converted outfielder who makes the turn with some help from Pujols.
Welcome back here to Landshark Stadium. The new Cody's Crew T-shirts made their debut in the Marlins clubhouse today. Cody Ross handling these out pretty nice. Purple. Cody's head makes a perfect O as well, thanks to the hairless wonder there. Now it's Wednesdays. You have to buy your tickets in advance, though, either online, www.marlins.com, or calling 305-626-SAVE. If you buy it in advance, you get a ticket right here where I am, section 129. And as Cody on cue makes the catch, you also get a voucher for one of these shirts, and you can pick it up as you come here tomorrow. But again, you can't do it when you come to the park, so get your tickets in advance. Every Wednesday for home games, Cody's Crew. How do you like that shirt? What do you think?
Thank you. My name.
No, not your shirt, this shirt.
Oh, yeah, it looks good.
All right. See, I threw him on the spot there. All right, guys, take it away. Cody's Crew tomorrow night. Buy your tickets in advance.
Matt Lindstrom in the ballgame in the 9th inning, with Yadier Molina waiting at the plate. Rick Ankiel lining out towards third. Bonifacio in time.
2 pitches, 2 outs, more cues. And good to see Matt Lindstrom come in and throw strikes. And this is something you see managers do a little more often. You can use that closer when you're at home in a tie game. The Cardinals getting Jason Mott up.
Tyler Green comes to the plate. Brendan in Wellington wants to bet or wager with us. And it is, if the Marlins win in a walk-off fashion, both of you have to wax a little piece of your chest, leg, or arm. Deal or no deal? What are you, nuts? And what happens?
Well,
it's like a
wax
lose
on, wax off.
It's like a lose-lose for us. Well, I mean, it would be a win for the Marlins, but a little bit of pain for us.
You must love that scene from 40-Year-Old Virgin then.
We have our angry email coming up. Lindstrom misses inside. Bob in Palm City wants to know, what year did Major League Baseball first require the use of batting helmets? Early 60s?
Yeah, I was going to say sometime in the 60s.
Foul ball. All right, Bob, we'll get to that, but right now it's time for our angry email. I'm frustrated. How can Jimmy Rollins lead the All-Star voting with a .211 average and Hanley's hitting .330? What's the deal? Zach, who voted for Pujols over Cantu. That's okay.
That's okay. Well, if you're angry, then vote. Vote as many times, 25 online. Come out to the ballpark and vote.
Marlins.com, MLB.com.
Because that man deserves to be in the All-Star game. As we said, Jimmy Rollins in the past has been an All-Star. He is not having an All-Star year.
I'll tell you another shortstop that is having an All-Star year, and that's Miguel Tejada.
Miguel Tejada. Miguel Tejada with the Houston Astros going into play tonight, hitting .354, leading the league.
Two and two with 2 outs. At home, once you get to the 9th in a tied game, many managers will use their closer. Little looper into right field, because there's no real way to close the game anyways. You're either going to win by a walk-off or see the opponent go ahead in the top of the inning. So it wouldn't essentially be a close situation. Here's an email from Delaware. Joe from Delaware. My son is 9 years old, and he's decided he wants to start pitching. He's a pretty big kid. He's 5 feet, 125 pounds at 9 years old. He has no problem throwing strikes, but I've heard that you should only let young kids throw fastballs and not teach them the other pitches. If that's true, what point do you start teaching them off-speed or breaking pitch? He's 9.
I think a good point. We can go back to last night's starter, Sean West, whose father, Bobby, did not allow him to throw breaking balls through high school. I think you could probably start a little before that if you'd like, but what was the rule of thumb I heard one time? No curveballs until you shave.
But I've also heard from Major League pitchers who say no curveballs, but learn how to throw a changeup.
Yeah, if you have a good fastball and you can control a changeup, that's all you need.
There's a high chopper from Stavanova into right field, and the pinch hitter delivers. Cardinals with runners at the corner.
When all of a sudden with 2 outs, a flare, a chopper, and the Cardinals are in business first and third with 2 out. Stavanova pinch hitting for McClellan. Fastball was up. He just chops it, and with Cantu holding the runner, nobody on first base, he probably has a chance to catch that, but because he was holding the runner, that ball was chopped over his head.
Well, all of a sudden this does feel like a safe situation, doesn't it? Ryan is 1 for 3. Oh, and 1. Lindstrom trying to get this game tied to the bottom of the 9th. High fly ball, left field and deep. Coughlin is back to the track, has room, makes the catch. Lindstrom survives the 9th. Marlins with a chance to win it in the bottom half. 3-3 ball game, 9th inning, Marlins and Cardinals. This started with Josh Johnson and Chris Carpenter. Johnson wobbled first with 3 in the 3rd. Then Carpenter gave up 3. And it's been turned over to the bullpens. Jason Mott, hard thrower and a good guy, comes out of the bullpen.
Boy, he comes right after hitters with a 95-plus fastball, gets in the upper 90s. Still trying to develop a slider and a changeup. He'll show it once in a while, but more often than not, he'll give you the heat.
Went to Iona in New York. Mott delivers a fastball for a strike. A catcher turned pitcher.
You know, on this draft day, selected in the 19th round back in '03 as a catcher out of Iona. Was a weak hitting catcher, but had a great arm.
Drive to right and deep. Get out of here. Ball game. Walk off. Hermida. 4-3 Marlins.
There's that walk off, and there was a gigantic blast from Jeremy Hermida. Wow.
And the Marlins, in dramatic fashion, take game 1 of this series.
Oh, he got the little slider from Jason Mott. He went away from the fastball, his #1 pitch, threw the slider, and Jeremy Hermida took care of the rest. Wow, halfway up into those seats. That is his first career game-winning home run.
What a thrill for Hermida. And a big night for the Fish.
Matt Lindstrom, the winning pitcher. But some terrific pitching from Josh Johnson, Dan Meyer, and Lindstrom.
4-3 the final. The Marlins beat the Cardinals. The Fish moved their record to 29-31, 2 under. And the Cardinals have now lost 5 in a row. St. Louis at 31-28. Mott the loser. As Tommy pointed out, Lindstrom the winner. Let's go down below to Craig Minervini.
Well, fitting on draft day when Jeremy Hermida, first round pick, and as Cody Ross just said, that's what first rounders do. What a great moment for you guys.
It's a big win for us today. We had two great pitchers on the mound today, and to be able to come out and get a win out of this one's big for the team.
Let's talk about the home run. Take us through it here in the bottom of the 9th inning. BC, wow. Brett Carroll, a little payback day after. Hopefully Herm will come back with us. We'll talk about that home run, guys. Brett Carroll, who last night, look at this, and remember it was Cody Ross who got Brett Carroll with the jump and the move. Wow. Hey, Herm, we're still on here. We'll give you a second to get it off. That's okay. Brett Carroll, who last night, Herm, Herm, it was Carroll who took the pie. I thought he was only going to go after Cody Ross.
No, it's all right.
Enough status to do that?
Hey, you know what? It's all for fun, but we'll definitely get it back for that one somehow.
All right. As we were saying before we were rudely interrupted, take us through this at bat here as you guys clawed back and talk about your home run there in the bottom of the 9th.
You know, that guy throws hard. You know, I know him from spring training. Unfortunately, we get to face these guys a little bit, so we get to see him throughout spring training. And that guy throws hard, and just threw it at my head. And he happened to leave a slider a little bit right there and hung it a little bit on the inside part of the plate.
And as soon as you hit it, you knew it was out. Not even a question, fair foul, right?
No, yeah, you knew you got it. It's one of those where you can catch it pretty clean and you know you got it. So, like I said, just a big win for us to be able to come out and get a win against Carpenter. It's big for us.
Herm, you had some dramatic home runs earlier in the season against Washington. Remember, you tied it up in the ninth, really won it in the extra innings. But that was on the road. It's different when you're home here and you get that celebratory get together at the plate. Talk about that.
Oh no, it's fun. You know that's one of those things you live for, to be able to get a walk-off hit like that, and let alone a walk-off home run. So, you know, it's been it's fun for us to be able to do that. You know, that's my first one ever, so it's been fun.
Yeah. All right. Good stuff. Way to go, and you can get BC back.
Sure. Oh, I will. Don't worry.
All right. Jeremy Armino with the home run, guys. Dramatic fashion for the Marlins tonight. How about that? 6-3 now on the homestand with 2 more to go. More with Conine in a moment. Back to you guys.
4-3 the final. The Marlins beat the St. Louis Cardinals. Marlins Baseball and Sun Sports is brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% on car insurance. Visit us at geico.com or call 1-800-947-AUTO. By Tobacco Free Florida. Tobacco Free Florida wants you to be tobacco free. Visit tobaccofreeflorida.com for more information. And by Chivas. Chivas 18 reminds you to live with chivalry. And please enjoy responsibly. Marlins Live postgame is coming up. Fish win it in walk-off fashion. Jeremy Hermida.